Hello, good evening, Hebrews and Shebrews. Hi to all of our followers. We are here with Mansour Ashkar today, following the tragic events that's been happening in South Syria and the Suwayda province, where uh, why I'm hearing myself now for okay. Just a second. So Mansour, how are you doing? Let's start with you. I'm gonna just fix some technical stuff here.
No problem. Given the circumstances, while Khalifa is working on fixing technical stuff, we could have been doing better. Anytime that our Druze brothers and sisters are being under attack in Syria or anywhere around the world, it's a very sad day for us. As you know, we're a very small community. The Druze population all across planet Earth barely reach 1.5 million, at max. And the majority of that population is actually in Syria, and the majority of that population in Syria is in the mountain of Suwayda, and they have been under a dire attack and a siege and a genocide, basically cleansing attempt by several forces there. They've been stuck between Daesh, ISIS, Al Nusra, Al Jahabat, Al Qaeda, the government, the Assad regime, the Jawlani regime, basically every player there that is not Christian or
Do
Kurdish.
you want to know the name of the organization today?
Yeah, let's. What's the name of the organization today?
So it's El Mujahideen.
The Mujahideen.
They
Very
even
creative.
stop trying to be creative.
Yes. El Mujahideen. Yeah. So every second day, a new jihadist organization comes up there and decides he want to go and kill the Druze. And for some of you who maybe don't know, let me show you the picture here. So for those of you who don't know, there is clashes right now between the Druze men into some Muslim Bedouin fighters and tribes there that are coming and trying to kill, they're kidnapping from one another, trying to kill one another, etc. Khalifa, do you want to give us maybe a quick brief of what happened this time? Why did these clashes happen?
Yeah, well, okay. I just want to give some background to the events. So we all remember at the 30th of April when we had the big fuss going around with the Druze and Sahnaya and all what came following. And after that, you always mention that Syria is like the Mad Max. So people don't really understand that of what it means to be Mad Max. So basically, after those events, Syria became less and less safe to the Druze people, which all somehow got to back to Suwayda, like the students who were studying in the universities came back to Suwayda. And Suwayda is like in a siege. It's like a province that it is large. It's not a small area, but it's covered with a sea of Sunni forces. In the south, it has Jordan, and from all over the sides, it is Bedouin. And today, just to put one thing to what we've seen on May, that once the clashes began on Damascus, Druze from Suwayda tried to go on the road of Suwayda Damascus to Damascus and try to help the Druze friends, and then they've been ambushed by the Bedouins, the same Bedouins that they are attacking them today. And we lost like 70 men in this ambush. And ever since, there have been like tense, quiet atmosphere. People in Suwayda, uh, although they don't feel safe in the general Syria, they still need to go somewhere. Like if they need to go to the hospital or emergency stuff or visit their friends living in Damascus and all over the places. So they try to hide and conceal their presence in the public sphere, but they still need to leave Sweden. And today, what happened? It started in an attack on what we see in the map that you just put here on Al Maqwas, which is a Bedouin neighborhood in Suwayda. But what is interesting about it that it's in the eastern side of Suwayda. This time, like we usually have problems with the western side of Suwayda, and today we actually saw like an attack from both sides. It started from the east side, and after that, now we are having on El Tire, on the other side, the western side of Suwayda, clashes, and the casualties now. The latest report that I heard of, it's talking about 13 dead Druze, among them two 16 boys, 16 years old boys. And I've seen the videos of Bedouin lighting up Druze houses. So and we heard of around 70 um, wounded men and women, and we've seen pictures of them lighting houses and homes, and the whole picture is not so clear yet. But the whole thing started uh, after giving this background. It started with
A truck of
phenomena
vegetables.
with the phenomena of block roads, and this is the Mad Max scenario. Because I talked yesterday, I was speaking to a friend of mine from Syria, and he tried to explain how it is, to leave Suwayda to the depth of Syria. He actually drove from Suwayda to Hadar, which is in our Golan border. It's a place where we have Israeli presence after the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime. And he said from Suwayda to Hadar, which is like 40 or 50 kilometers drive, he went through 10 block roads, checkpoints, and you never know who are the people asking you to see who you are, checking your cars, your things. And this is a way just to intimidate the Druze in one hand, and on the other hand is to try and steal goods. So what happened basically, they on one of those checkpoints, a businessman, a Druze businessman, got to a checkpoint, and he had like 2 million Syrian liras, which I don't know, like it's $2,000 or something like that, and some fruits or things like that. So they stole his goods and money, and he was kidnapped, so that the retaliation of the Druze part came of kidnapping other people to try to bring this businessman back. 2 days after that, he was found heavily wounded, and they released the captured men. Even now, like they captured snipers, ISIS snipers basically, and they released them immediately. So the Druze know that they are in a very bad disadvantage, because they were counting on the Israeli support. And on the last event, there was like some crack in that wall on the alliance between the Druze and the Israeli government, or the Israeli um, uh, security system. And ever since, they feel somehow betrayed, and this is why we haven't learned or heard anything from the Druze. Like I was yelling on my Druze friend yesterday. I said like, come on, I need news, I need to report what's happening with you guys. You all went silent, and this is the sad reality, that they basically lost to ISIS attack on the past, on the like couple months ago. And ever since, they became quiet, because they're trying to calculate what's happening here. They
I
see the
tell you
Kurds
what,
putting their arms, They see the Christians very silent, and they know that they can't fight this war themselves, and they are blocked.
I tell you what,
Uh,
Khalifa, and tell me what you think, but I think in general, minorities in the Middle East are losing trust in the West. Look at Iran. Everybody was promising them, making them feel like, Israel is coming, America is coming, finally, we're going to topple that regime, encouraging the people on the street, get out and help us and fight and this and join. And then some people go and do that and they expose themselves. And then what happened? Second later, they jump on the first chance for ceasefire. Let's go back and leave that regime in power. And what happened? Massive arrests in the street, killing. Now Iran is suffering more than before. The people in Iran right now are even worse than before because they were left with their pants down. Same thing with Syria. I feel like, the Druze in Syria, for a while they cried, Israel, come help us, America, come help us, please. They felt they were with their back to the wall, and they were giving some kind of false promises that we're going to step in, we're going to help you guys. Christians, Druze, Alawites were running for the safety, the Kurds. That's it. The West is coming in. And then they start coming out and feeling brave enough to come and say, we're not your enemies. We don't hate America. We don't hate the Druze. We don't hate the Jews. We don't hate the Christians. We just want to live in peace. And by that, they're actually flagging themselves as targets for these radical Sunnah criminals. And then what happened is no one comes and really does a thing. They just throw promises. Politicians throw promises in the air, and the blood of the people run in the streets. And I feel like also the Druze in Syria now are getting just very, very afraid. They're like saying, what's going to happen next? I mean, look what's happening. We know Jawlani, this guy, he's an Al-Qaeda, he's a terrorist. And now we see him going around hugging Macron. We're seeing right now, Donald Trump saying all kind of, nice stuff about him, and that they're removing the sanction. Now even Israel is talking about maybe some kind of having diplomatic, peaceful relationship with him. And the Druze are just very afraid that they're going to be pushed, again to the side and going to be slaughtered and killed. Not only the Druze, mind you, every bad thing that happens to the Druze is happening more probably to the Christians and the Alawites because they can't protect themselves. The Druze at least are still standing and protecting themselves.
well, I mean, I think that they, like, I'm an Israeli. I can do a very successful career putting blames on my own government. But in this case, I guess that the main thing came from the Trump administration, who wants, like, he's very eager to put business, like, to put a deal in a very fast, like, he wants his Nobel Prize fast and now. And the problem with that is that you still have jihadist forces, and the Druze feel now like they are the smallest pawn in the game. And what we saw basically that on the last events when the massacre held place on Sahnaya, that basically you have huge amount, like hundreds of thousands of Druze, that they are actually prisoners to the Syrian regime. And this is why the Druze in Suwayda tried to keep low, because they know that if they try to retaliate or put some demonstrations or try to wave some flags, those people will be slaughtered. And nobody's pushing for the Druze interests except us, the Druze who can see what's happening here. And we're trying to say, like, for me as an Israeli, the forces sitting in south of Syria trying to slaughter my people in Suwayda are the same forces that after they gonna kill the Jews, kill the Druze, they're gonna come and try and kill the Jews. Those, like, this is the same enemy. We are fighting the same enemy, the same ideologies. Uh, what's good for the Jews is good for the Druze. I always say it, but like the Druze and the Jews are the same, but Druze come with no benefits. We don't have IDF in south of Syria, and it's really heartbreaking seeing them
I'll give,
being like
I'll give,
shot
yeah,
like ducks.
I'll give a great example. A great example is when there was the war, the 12-day war with Iran. There were forces in the tens of thousands of jihadists from Iran in Iraq who started marching towards Israel. They said that was part of the plan of the bigger plan of Iran to have as many of them flooding Israel from Hezbollah, Lebanon, from Ramallah, and from Hamas in Gaza, and from Syria, and for, just to flood while they shoot all their launchers. That was their plan to destroy Israel. So they had in the Houthis. So some of these pocket forces decided, that's it, Iran is falling, we're going to run to Israel. They went. The Jawlani regime tried to send his jihadists to go and stop them. They got completely crushed and humiliated because they're not real forces, just a bunch of monkeys. Exactly. Some monkeys sitting on these trucks and just going around. And what happened is, once they crushed the Syrian opposition, the only one that was standing between these heavily trained jihadists to Israel was the Druze mountain, ladies and gentlemen, was Suwayda. So in the end, we need to understand in Israel, just like Khalifa said here, if the Druze fall, they're on our borders. So it's not just because we're nice and we're Druze and we make really good pita with za'atar. There is a very good interest here for Israel to strengthen their allies, which is the Druze, and to bring us back to what's happening today. As Khalifa showed this video. Can you show this video again, Khalifa?
Yeah, exactly.
Stop the music. It hurts the channel later on. So as you can see, guys, these are the jihadists that are coming right now and making a call. And they're calling for all their friends, come and help us. We're going to go and annihilate the Druze. They haven't gave up on that dream. You can see here a video of the Druze.
No, but just a second. There's something very important about this video. I need to show it again because even our English speaking audience could see that some of the trucks have the name of the General Security Forces. And this one, like, for example, you can see the Security Command, Internal Security Command, okay? So these are legitimate, so-called Syrian regime
government
forces.
Yeah.
And those guys now in Daraa are going to do jihad on the Druze people in Suwayda, just to put the things in order here. So this is the true dangerous thing about this regime. It has many faces, and you have those people who allegedly should be cops, should be the people who force and put things in order, and in a second you get jihadist. That's the dangerous about this regime, and we should put like and what's like what is really upsetting that they even don't try to conceal it, like it's
No,
in the open.
it's in the open.
They are proud in that.
In the
It's like
open.
exactly like October 7. They are
Yeah.
happy and very glad to do whatever they are doing.
I'll actually explain something that's very important here. So first of all, thank you, GG Ryder. That's very kind of you. Druze are smaller population than Jews. Leftist, radical, silly folks do not yet accuse Druze of illegal occupation or say go back to Egypt. What Khalifa was saying here, and that's important to understand. So one of the main reasons that the southern part of Syria and where the Druze are, and many minorities ran down there also, is safer is because Israel told Jawlani, listen, we don't trust you. You can fool the West. You don't fool us. If you bring your forces southern from Damascus, we're taking them down. So now he's kind of stuck. And go with me with this, if he is truly still trying to follow his own words, by the way, which is to cleanse Syria from anyone that is not Sunnah and kill anyone there and enforce them to become either sex slaves or, convert, then the next best option for him to still go after the Druze is through these Bedouins. And that's why that we're seeing no arrest of these Bedouins that are attacking and kidnapping and murdering Druze and students. I don't know. The government's not doing anything. Actually, we're seeing trucks of the government with these jihadist Bedouins going down again and again and again, sponsored, getting more weapons, heavy weapons, etc. And meanwhile, the only one that they've been asked to give up their weapons is the Druze. So the Druze who are defending themselves right now, and by the way, defending also the Christians and the Alawites and many minorities, including Muslim minorities, are hiding among them. They're the only one that the government is demanding, give us their weapons. It's illegal to have a weapon for self-defense in the nomad, jihadist borderline Mad Max land of Syria. But these Bedouins are being supported and supported again by the government, and if not directly, indirectly, if not just by turning a blind eye while they know what they're doing. They're going around and calling for a genocide of the Druze, and we can see that. And the Druze end up fighting again and again to defend them. I want to show you an interesting video here. And later on, I have actually another one. Here you can see, is that the one? Let me see. Where is the one with the lady that I put? So here you can see Druze man escorting a Muslim Bedouin woman out of the Muslim neighborhood that is under the attack there. The Druze are treating the Muslims there, even though these people have betrayed them. This is the same Muslim people that came, the Bedouins that came and betrayed them and kidnapped their children and attacked them again and again and again. The Druze are still treating them with dignity and with honor. They can go and kill them. They're not. The other side, we've seen what happened when a Muslim in Syria captures a Druze or Alawite or a Christian. We've seen these images. They make them walk on the floor, bark like dogs, shoot them in the heads in front of their parents, rape children in front of their mothers, or rape mothers in front of their children and then execute them. That is the way that they're behaving towards their enemies. And the government is demanding from the radicals, not demanding anything from the radicals, actually demanding from the ones that are peaceful to surrender their weapons. And that is how terrible the situation there. If you want Khalifa, maybe... Yeah,
There's
please.
one thing worth mentioning in this regard, that in the video you can hear the fighters saying to the women, "I've been calling you for hours to go out. I need to rescue you." And this demonstrates the true thing about the Druze community. And I need to add another thing to the pool of meaning here. I've seen a report this week of a Qatari investment in Syria of 200. They are investing $250 billion. I guess it's dollars. I need to check the numbers again, but like it's an insane amount. Okay, a lot of money in dairy factory, like milking cows and things like that. But the thing is, we have Qatar, which is the mother, the ideological mother of being two-faced state. Like in one hand, you support ISIS and adhere to Muslim Brotherhood ideologies on Al Jazeera and things like that. But on the other hand, you present yourself like, a modern democratic state, so-called, like, and Qatar is very dangerous country, and its influence in Syria is becoming more and more significant. And we here in Israel, we should put this in mind because it's a very important issue to tackle with.
Yeah, and here's another video, a very interesting video that was made by a Muslim lady that used to live with the Druze. Here, watch it.
بدي وجه تحية من قلبي من جوا لأهل السويدة. أهل السويدة احتضنوني، أهل السويدة أكرموني، أهل السويدة ما خافوا مني، أهل السويدة حموني، أهل السويدة حطوني ببيوتهم، طعموني من لقمتهم. أهل السويدة يعني وقت مثلا كون ماشي بالطريق هن اللي بدهم يلزقوا فيي أمه لغياس، بدك شيء لازمك شيء، سواء كان الطبيب، سواء كان الصيدلي، سواء كان الخضري، السمان، كلهم أهل السويدة أنا فضل.
I'm getting here live updates as we're talking from all kind of friends from Syria and across the world. And they just said what you said, Khalifa. They just told me, look at the stickers in the car. Look at the stickers in the car. And that is what's happening right now in Syria. As you're saying, they're feeling like the world is falling for Jawlani and for all the tricks that they're doing. And the minorities in Syria are saying, what do you mean? Whoa, guys, don't ignore the big letters on the wall. Don't ignore it. So they're trying to show all people in the world that, it's far from what they're trying to portray it. And right now, the Druze are suffering under another one of these clashes and attacks by the Bedouin forces, who ended up in, just like you said, several deaths, few kidnaps, many injuries, including, teenager deaths. in Syria. Now, some people here were asking, can they come into Israel? Can they run? Well, first of all, the Druze don't need to run into Israel, because the Druze villages around Israel that are under the protection of the IDF are actually very safe. That's very safe places. They can live in dignity. They can, go to sleep without closing the doors at night, because Israel is protecting them right now by default, because they're, Israel is making sure that these jihadists don't come to Israel. The Druze in Suwayda are not connected with land to Israel. There is these Bedouins in between them. So the Druze in Suwayda, they don't really have anywhere to run. If they go out of Suwayda, they're sieged. They kill them on the roads. They kidnap them. They kill them. They any terrible thing you can imagine, they do to them. And that's why the Druze there are still standing strong and going into fight. So every time that they hear of an attack like that, what they do is they immediately start sending their convoys. They start sending, the cars like this. And by the way, all these people that you're seeing in these vehicles from the Druze forces in Suwayda, they're not armed. They're not trained military professionals. They are brave young men, mostly, some women as well, who trained by themselves or with their uncles, and someone who was in the army before and came back and brought some weapons from the army before the government collapsed. And they're learning how to defend themselves. Now they have jobs, they have families, they have life, and then they jump on these pickup trucks with the dushkas and with all the weapons that they have and buses, and they just drive to the location where they know that the Druze are right now are being attacked or kidnapped, and they go and fight for them. But that is the reality of the brave Druze men and women in Syria, and that's what they're doing. They're just going every day. Imagine, they're barely sleeping. They barely have enough money to earn a living. They need to work several jobs just to make $30, a month. Several jobs. It's insane. The reality there is insane. And sorry, I get upset when I talk about these things. Khalifa, the mic is yours.
Yeah, this is like we've been talking a lot, but in the end of it, there's some practical things that we must do on the humanitarian level. Those people are under blockade, uh, like they are like this island in sea of Sunni forces. None of them are very keen or like fond of the Druze, and every time anybody who is Muslim Sunni that his girlfriend somehow insulted his ego, he will do jihad on Druze because that's the thing now that everybody will do, a jihad on the Druze. And we
Mhm.
need to open the border and try to reinforce this community, even with the basic stuff. We are having bad time, to get images and reports from there because there's no internet or stable internet connection. They can't upload pictures or videos. There's no proper electricity or water. All those basic stuff are necessities that we must help the Druze community on a humanitarian level. I'm not talking about, my dream of sovereign a Druze state, which is the right thing for them to do. But I need to add to that. Another thing is like, you know what? I always say, even if Jolani did uh, like 180 degrees, he became an angel, okay? But the structure of the state, it doesn't matter. Like you should, like in the Druze, from the point of view of the Druze, they are gambling on their future. So they say, what assures me that after Gulani goes, I will not get, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi again, because the constitution that the Syrian state now is doing is an Islamic state. And this is bad news for all minorities, Christians, Alawites, all Kurds, everybody. It's the same bad news. But the Druze being the smallest and the weakest are the easiest to do those attacks on. And that's what really breaks my heart, because Jordan could easily open the border and try to revive the place with some basic stuff, you know.
It breaks the heart seeing how in the Muslim world mostly there's such a disregard for the life of children. The only time they care about their children is when it can actually use their purpose of war, either playing the victimhood card or making you drop your guard so they can invade you. A great example is we're seeing it right now in Gaza. There's these videos surfacing now where you see many ambulance drivers driving an ambulance with a baby on him, giving CPR to the baby while driving, while his friend is filming him. So my question is, why isn't the friend giving CPR right now to the baby, and this driver can focus on the road and actually bring him? And it's because it's working on the West. So they see, okay, let's see. I see, oh, I didn't care about the baby, but now if I show this baby suffering, now the baby might be actually in dire situation and desperately need medical attention, and terrible situation. He got caught in the line of fire. He got caught with these guys using him as a human shield and hiding behind him. We know the song. So they do that again and again when it serves their purposes. And that's why they never really help each other. If you look at it, when Gaza was going in and what happened, none of the Arab countries around, none of them wanted to let them in. Not a single one. They actually even brought their forces and said, no. Same thing in Syria, same thing in Lebanon, same thing with the Druze. They don't want to help. They don't care about one another. They hate one another. They hate themselves. There's so much hatred in that society. It's a terrible society. And it's just the reality. And the only one that cares about it is either Israel or the Christian world, the Americans and the Europeans. They don't like to call themselves Christians, but they are Christians, like it or not. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I just uploaded a video to show how right you are about they're not helping each other. I'm gonna show you this video.
أنا بدي أفضحكم فضيحة، بدي أفضحكم. شايفين خزانة أمي كلها، شايفين هاي درنجاتي، خدوا شوفوا ولاد شعبي العربية، شوفوا ولاد شعبي، شوفوا هاي جاكيتة أمي، شايفين كل خزانة أمي.
She's crying.
هاي الجلابية اللي حضرت عند أمي، بدي أخذهم كلهم عندنا.
Did you capture the scene? Did you understand what's happening? A woman walking in Khan Yunis in a market, and see her mother's wardrobe basically is to sell. Someone stole her wardrobe, her clothes, being like a mayhem that Khan Yunis is, and she's saying, "You are the people of my state, like of my country. This is what you are doing to your own people, and this is what they are doing." And the Druze, no matter how bad or dire the situation was, they kept somehow their humanity, and they always tried to support one another. Their dignity, exactly.
Thank you so much, Barak, yourself. That's very kind of you. And I put this picture before, and just so we don't forget, these are the two young men who were murdered in their homes, by the way, in Syria. Druze teenagers, you can call it, who were murdered in their homes in these clashes right now. The main difference, and people like to talk sometimes, yeah, Israel is killing civilians as well, and I don't know what. And I tell you the main difference. If Israel could, not a single civilian would die. Only terrorists. They have no intention of killing civilians. It happens because these bastards, they hide behind women and children. If these radical Muslims could, all civilians will be killed. And that is the difference. If they could, all children and women and men will be either killed or become sex slaves. The only reason they can't is because strong men and women are stopping them. And that is a big difference. You cannot come and say these claims, yeah, well, there's babies dying and people dying all over the Middle East. Israel is killing as well. Israel is not intended. A great example, look what happened in Lebanon. Look what happened in Iran. Israel went and attacked the biggest war that they had against their biggest enemy, Iran. They're much bigger than Hamas and these factions of jihadists. They're the biggest enemy that actually threat an existential threat for the state of Israel, of wiping out Israel from the map. They go, they basically crush them in 12 days, and there's minimal civilian casualties. Nuclear facilities are destroyed, military bases, air force, their defense system, their generals are killed one by one. The Mossad is running there, taking them down one by one with air force. They're not targeting any civilian. Same thing in Lebanon. They went and they took mostly the Hezbollah people. Yes, some pager attacks hurt civilian people, but in general, that was probably the most humane counterterrorism act in the history. I once made like my own mathematical study about it. If you would want to take 4,000 terrorists right now using special forces, you'll probably end up having thousands of civilian casualties, tens of thousands. If you will want to take 4,000 terrorists right now by Air Force, you'll end up having, easily tens, if not hundreds of thousands of casualties. Just by, for every one of them you kill 20, 30 around him because he was, hiding between them. Just take the math. So taking down about 4,000 Hezbollah operators and having, barely a dozen, maybe, I don't know how many it was, probably not more than 10, don't get me on the numbers, but barely any civilian casualties is extremely, extremely the most humanitarian and counterterrorism act in the history of mankind. So that is
And
Israel.
that didn't stop them of claiming that it was the pager massacre, right?
Yeah, of course, because they're always victim. They're always the victim. It's never anyone else. They're the victim. They come on October 7 and they kill you and they rape your daughters and they film themselves doing that. And then they run with your hostages, with your children. And then you come after them. And then what? They're the victims. They're always the victims. These are the lowest
And
form of
Nasrallah
inhuman,
declared the war.
disgusting humans. What?
I'm declaring war. And Nasrallah on October 8th, he declared war against the state of Israel. So, and still somehow tried to promote it like they are the victims. That's insane. But do you think, like in general speaking, I know you don't live in Israel anymore, but to the average Israeli, do you think that the security, the self security of the people had worsened or became or improved in the past 2 years, you guess?
In Israel or outside of Israel?
In Israel
I think improved in Israel.
and outside Israel?
Got worse. I'm talking for
Seriously.
myself, I mean, for myself as an Israeli, as an Arab, I am way safer in Israel than in Europe. And it's getting worse and worse because all the junk of the jihadists in the world is coming to Europe. And the woke Europeans are falling for them when they say they're the victims, and they're actually blaming us, people like me and others, that we're the bad guys because we're exposing them. I met with a guy here in Germany. His name is Mansour as well. He's a former Palestinian who moved into Germany. He's a psychologist, and he's very much anti-jihad. He's very much pro, Israel and the West. He's a Westerner. He sees himself as a Westerner. He's a very famous person here in Germany. I've met him, and when I saw him, there were two undercover police officers standing around him all the time. And when I came, they were like coming at me very close, just looking at me, and I was like, "Whoa, what's happening?" So I came and I talked to him in Arabic. They told me, "Yeah, that's my police escort." And I said, "They're always with you?" He said, "Yeah, 24/7." And I said, "Oh, you go home?" He said, "Everywhere I go, they come with me." And I said, "Why?" He says, "Because the moment I started speaking, again, what is Islam trying to do to Europe, radical Islam, I became a big target here, and many people want me dead. And they literally have to put police over me to protect me." And that is the fate of peaceful, Muslims and Arabs who are actually advocating and trying to warn Europe, be careful. So to your question, I don't know if that's what you meant exactly, but to your question, yes, I feel much, much safer in Israel. But I think maybe I've missed your question now that I think about it.
No, you answered it perfectly. Because here in Israel we complain a lot, and a lot of people, they have a lot of criticism about how this world's like going. Like we allegedly defeated Hezbollah, Bashar al-Assad, Iran, but still we are tackling Hamas, and Now the issue with the south of Syria, that I feel that the Israelis don't really mind of a second Gaza being built on our northern border and somehow are asleep. For me, my personal sense of security had improved. I guess that like all Israelis, but I don't like doing this job. We need to finish the job, and finishing the job is trying to eliminate this way of thinking and trying to, you know, uh, I don't know, programming those mind washed people that they are like to the bones Nazis. We should put it in these terms.
I was muted.
You're muted. Yeah.
I mute myself when I try to answer the people in the chat groups here. So someone here said if Druze weren't warrior, they wouldn't even stay as Druze. Keep the religion and culture would be another Muslimized group. Absolutely. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, the only place that Druze are actually full on safe to go proudly and say we are Druze, this is our religion, this is our faith, is Israel. In Syria and many places they pretend to be Muslims, in Jordan as well. And it's like some kind of a status quo, quiet, just, don't go out there saying clearly you're Druze because people can come and kill you. In Lebanon, either there's the one that went with John Blatt and basically converted to Hezbollah and jihadism and basically Nazism. It's sad to say there is Druze there that are very, very, probably one of these guys here that is talking in this chat room is probably one of them. There is Druze there that I don't call them Druze anymore. They're literally filthy cowards, and they are clear supporter of Iran, of Hezbollah, and they just converted to Islam and they're just using the name Druze, but they're not Druze anymore. And then there's the one there that are actually Druze and trying to live by the Druze way, and they care for the brothers in Syria, and they don't hate their brothers in Israel, and they're living in fear. They're living in fear. They can't speak out. They can't, if they do, they get killed. Only place that you don't get killed in the Middle East for speaking out is Israel. Let's call it as it is. We're telling you this as an authority. I am a Druze from Israel. Khalifa is a Druze from Israel. He's living in Israel right now. I'm living in Europe right now. We're telling you this as a fact. The only place, Muslim, Christian, doesn't matter, you can speak freely in the Middle East, at least in this neighborhood that we're living in, is Israel. Lebanon Druze have freedom, but still need to be careful. In Lebanon, Druze have freedom, but still need to be careful. Yeah, of course, because the moment they step out, here's another interesting thing. Thanks to Israel, Hezbollah have been crushed. Assad have collapsed. Iran right now, if they manage to take it over. So Israel is the only one that is actually creating some kind of stability and maybe a chance for a better future in the Middle East. And they're doing that by being a badass, by going out and beating the crap out of all these jihadists and all the proxies. No, Rebecca, you're never late. Rebecca is never late. We should have an episode with Rebecca. Why didn't we have an episode with Rebecca yet? I don't understand that.
I have no clue. We should do that. She's amazing.
If
She's
me
doing
and you had a
job.
secretary, we would be giving her shit right now. But unfortunately, I am your secretary and you're my secretary, and we're just doing a terrible job.
Yeah. I need to fire my secretary.
I fire myself 3 times a day, man. I want to have a helper that his name is Ranfield. Joe Rogan, you have like Jamie. Jamie, put that video. I want to have a Ranfield. Ranfield, can you put that video? Yeah. Maybe Rebecca want to join us now. If she does, we'll send her a link immediately. So yeah, to keep you guys again, whoever joined the channel a bit late, so there is an attack on the Druze again. And the Druze right now in Syria are fighting again against the Muslim. And just like we showed in this video, and we're going to show it here again. Where's that video where you showed, Khalifa, where they show the cars?
It's the one with the name WhatsApp video. See it?
WhatsApp video, I see it, yeah. So if you see here, guys, look at this again. So these are basically ISIS people, Al-Qaeda people in Syria that are calling for more Muslim brothers, come and join us as we go to attack the Druze. And they're all excited. We're going to go and annihilate the Druze. Now here, watch this. We're going to show you from the beginning. Watch on the car here. I'm going to stop it here. Look at this. International Security Command. These
Internal.
sorry. These are the official vehicles of the government. Now, it's not one or two. It's not one or two guys. It's like a whole convoy of them standing there.
And like they dress alike with all the flip-flops, which is a sign of being jihadist. I guess this is something like a fashion thing. What really like upsets me is how up in the open it is. Like they are not trying to hide it in any way, and this is such an like I feel enraged seeing those pictures, because we do a lot of work trying to explain to people that even though Julani speaks nice words, the infrastructure of the state is the same jihadists that been killing each other for the past 10 years, and you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And those guys, all what they do, all what they're familiar with, is a Mad Max situation. This is not a stable state. Those people don't have a good, clear idea of how a sovereign country should be. All they have in their minds is, what they think is a remembrance of the Umayyad Caliphate, and they are trying to establish an Islamic state. And the thing about Islamic, way of conducting a country is that it failed. It failed in Gaza. It failed in Iran, obviously. What you expected, like when you give religious people to manage a country, those people never managed anything. Uh, uh, you need politician, you need lawyers, you need accountants, all kind of professionals, not religious people that try uh, to order everybody how
It
to
speaks
live
for
their
itself.
lives.
Khalifa, sorry for cutting in, but it speaks for itself. Don't even say religious people. When you give terrorists to manage a country, when you give radical religious terrorists to manage a country, what do you expect? What do you expect? It's insane. Rebecca Barcef, thank you so much. You're a legend. Guys, listen, next episode we're doing with Rebecca. I don't care how we're going to make that happen. We got to bring that lady here to share some of her interesting stories and travels that she had, traveling around the world. I know she have a lot of Iranian friends also that she's in touch with them. Be very interesting to hear that. But sorry, I was cutting you in when you were talking about that, but that's what it is. That's what it is in the Middle East, again and again and again. Radical jihadists. They see that this is the oldest trick in the book and it's working. They come and they say, let's kidnap a country, and then let's abuse our own people, use them as human shields, make them poor, make them stupid, brainwash them from a young age to become terrorists, and then let's go and attack someone big. They go attack Israel, America, I don't know what, and then Israel, America comes and kidnap their children. And then these good guys come after them, and then what they do, they run and they hide behind the human shields. And what happened is the country fails, the country becomes so poor and miserable, and the West, what it does, they see all these dead children, they feel bad. And then the guilt here plays, you guys are killing our children, it's because of you. And then the West have such a soft stomach for that, they start sending them money. Okay, let's send them money so the kids stop dying, and they start calling for a ceasefire because they think that this is the solution. Guys, the solution in war is not ceasefire. The solution in war is the defeat of your enemy. That's it. Everything in between is just a lie. If you don't defeat your enemy, he's going to defeat you. And if you don't defeat him in time, especially if you're a Muslim enemy, he's going to use hudna. And hudna, the definition of it, dictionary Quran definition, is I can't fight you anymore. Give me some time so I can get more weapons and supplies and people and come and kill you. So what happened is this Muslim startup is working every time for them. Every time, and they're seeing that, oh, Hezbollah and Hamas did a master's degree in that. So now other terrorist groups around the world said, wow, if that worked for Hamas, a bunch of radical jihadists just became billionaires by kidnapping a country and using it, we can do that as well. This is their exit plan. When you create your own unicorn exit startup in the Silicon Valley or in Tel Aviv, and you invent something that will make planet Earth better, and then you earn like, I don't know, $100 million, $3 billion, $35 billion when you sell it to Google. They see it like my chance to create my own startup unicorn is by kidnapping a country, abusing its people, making them miserable, using them as human shields while I attack you, and then getting money and cash it out and run and live in Dubai or in the UK. And that's what they did, and that's what they're doing. Yasser Arafat started that trick, and they're still going on full strong with it.
And what is terrible about it, like it's a long and slow death, because what they did for in Gaza, for example, they dried out all the businesses so they can have an inflation of unemployed men that then you can employ with $100 for a month, and they keep everybody on the bench of starvation just so everybody could be in need. This is how we got Gaza is Hamas and Hamas is Gaza, because everybody were intertwined with the Hamas regime, because this is the structure. This is how you build a death cult, and this is what we have there.
Yeah. Someone here said they have not a single goal not connected to building a Khalifa. And I agree, but I want to add something to that. Many times we like to think that it's all religious. Now, let me tell you something. There's a lot of people there that are they're pretending to be religious. They're literally just pervert savages who are uneducated and are too lazy to have a real job. And the best way for them to have an exit, to have a good job, is by going and killing other men, taking their women, making them the sex slaves, and looting and taking their money. That's what's happening in Syria on a small scale. These jihadists are going Mad Max, killing, taking children as sex slave, killing the men, and emptying the house and moving onward. They don't have bank accounts. They don't have pension plan. They don't invest in SP 500 and all kind of the stuff. They just do that, and they move from place to place where they can abuse and kill people and take their stuff and run. So some of them have really grand thoughts and thinking like, hey, listen, let's not just do it in the scale of moving from village to village, murdering, killing, and taking their money. Let's have others work for us. Let's have other of these idiots, unemployed jihadists, Mad Max Arabs going around and killing and giving, and we collect the loot. And not only that, it's so great that the West is so stupid that they will start even sending us money to take care of these people, and we're going to steal all that money. So how can we do that? Let's create UNRWA. That's a great idea. Let's create these Red Cross. Another scam over there. Let's create these scams that the West can funnel money into it, and we will pocket it, take it, put it in our pockets while they keep killing each other. They keep running. So you have the small jihadists on the ground running around doing Mad Max style, enslaving sex slaves and I don't want them killing. And then you have the big guys like Haniya and like Yasser Arafat and like these guys, like right now probably Jolani and his friends, who are pocketing the money for the pockets, taking money. They will create an empire. Mark my word, you'll see several years from now, again, just a rise of a new generation of jihadists that suddenly have more money than Taylor Swift in their account. And they're living where? Probably in Qatar or in Turkey. That's what you're going to see. Maybe in the UK, the way things are going around, they might be living in the UK, or you know what? Maybe in New York. If Mamdani gets elected, you're going to start seeing that kind of people going to New York.
Well, you know what? I wanna ask you something, because I wrote on my Facebook page, I said, think about it. What a privilege to live in this state, I mean, Israel, in those times. And some of the people didn't understand what I'm talking about, and some did. And I said, being somehow there's only 10 million Israelis, and somehow we all participated in these historical times. Like if you look 50 years from now of the days that we lived here, I say it's like crazy historical times. And I was discussing this idea with a friend of mine, and he said, this is not historical times, this is biblical times. And
Wow.
I feel the sentiment that in all religions, Christians, Muslims, Jews, that there's a sense of the end of days, like Armageddon. Like the Gazans talk about it all the time, but now it's got to like a level that a lot of Jewish people are talking about it out loud, a lot of Christians. So I wonder if you feel this, if you have the same feelings toward that.
Well, I'll tell you a secret, man. It's not a secret, but I don't usually talk about it too much. I am quite advanced right now, already for a while, with some of my friends around the world in creating our escape plan. Plan B, Plan C, Plan D involves all kind of stuff, all the way from, probing for nuclear bunkers that we can live in and have organic farming above, and places where you can actually legally get weapons to defend yourself, and how to do that, and collecting food rations for half a year, 3 years in advance, and etc. Solar panels. So I am not going to leave the fate for my family on any government. We've seen on October 7, you can't trust any of these guys. If these things goes really, shit hits the fan, then you got to be able to protect yourself and defend yourself. And the reason we're doing that is because you see what's happening in the world, and especially now, it's like things that used to happen once every 50 years are not happening now once every 25 years. They're happening like in the same year. In 1 year, we had events. You have the fall of Syria, the destruction of the nuclear, plan in Iran, almost the fall of the Iranian regime. Hezbollah has been destroyed. Russia is fighting Ukraine. China is right now threatening to maybe go, and start invading Taiwan. China is right now sponsoring all these terrorist cells, across the Gulf and all kind of places around, and sponsoring directly, involved in sponsoring the enemies of the United States, and even coming and saying clearly, we don't want the war in Russia to finish, because if that finishes, and America will turn their attention towards us, North Korea, Turkey. So there's so many things that are happening right now that, yeah, there is a feeling to it that, it looks like things are just kind of going faster and faster. And we might actually be in World War III. We just don't know it yet. When they teach about it in 5 years from now, these will be the credit scenes, the opening scene for World War III in the movie. When you sit kind of to watch, these videos will be shown. These events: Russia, Ukraine, Syria, Israel, Hamas, Qatar, is all what's happening in the world. China, the US, this attempted assassination of Donald Trump, like all these things that are happening in such a short time. Who knows, man? Who knows where this is
Well,
going to lead?
for me, I don't know if I ever told you that, but I started my podcast post COVID because, I start witnessing the
Oh,
inflation,
really?
the
Yeah.
anti-Semitism, all this leadership crisis in all the world that we witnessed. And I said, okay, let's put the chances here. Uh, I don't know. What are the chances that we will have World War Three? I don't know, in the next 10 years. And I said it's certainly not zero. Like I don't know.
More
It's
than
not
yesterday. Yeah.
exactly, and it's escalating, and nobody seems to care about it. But yes, you start a war, you can never see or know how it will end. But this is the reason why I started this podcast, because the anti-Semitism was a clear sign of world heating up for dangerous places.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see how every time all these countries that end up either leading to World War II, 1, 2, 3, or 4, they somehow have a very core fundamental hatred towards the Jews. Every time. It's insane. Like all these empires were obsessed with killing the Jews. And we're seeing that happening right now. I call it, even in America, we're starting to see it like this, the right, the woke right. And to see it like a Tucker Carlson, all kind of, dimwits like that who only cares about, likes, like Candace Owens and all these people that will sell their souls just to get more views. And now they're just fixated, obsessed about Israel. All Tucker Carlson have became, in my eyes, I mean, that's a badge of shame when all the dictators in the world see you as their best chance to try to convince your country that they're not dictators, and you're the chance, you're like the channel. Let's listen, I'm an evil dictator. Who can I talk to? Who's gonna give me a platform? Oh, Tucker Carlson will give you a platform. He gave it to Putin, he gave it to now the president of Iran, and he will not even ask you a single hard question. He will let you freely try to portray yourself as the good guys. But what will he do? He will go and hate Israel. So we're seeing that anti-Semitism rising again and again. It would be interesting to do some kind of a graph, Khalifa, and I'm thinking with you. Whenever anti-Semitism was on the rise, on the peak, what happened? And we might actually find that whenever it was on the peak, a world war started. You know?
Yeah, I
Kind
told
of
you,
a way
like,
that you can see. There could be. I'm just throwing out of my head. Someone can do that research, but I think every time when anti-Semitism research speak, it was happening in the same time with a world war,
well,
because it's probably a sign of corrupted morality of society.
no. What happens? It becomes starts with economical crisis. Like, for example, inflation. When your reality is worsened by the day, like it becomes like it progresses to the wrong side. It becomes worse, and people are heated up and escalating the feelings because the reality is being becoming harder and harder for them to suffer. And this is why societies turn to minorities in general, and the mother of all minorities are the Jewish community. And everybody
I would say the
made
Druze,
the
they're like
uh,
even more, but yeah, they're not as
uh,
famous.
so this is why I tell in my lectures that the Druze and the Jews are the same, because after the Jewish people extended from Syria, from Lebanon, just to put in mind the last civil war in Lebanon made the community of the Jewish people of Lebanon to flee. They extend like the heritage of hundreds of years vanished, gone, because they started the civil war. They always blame the Jews, and now, after they finish with the Jews, whenever the Jews are weak, for example, in Iraq, they became weak. In all north of Africa, all the places that Jews basically got extinct, a whole legacy of a people, of a nation, got extinct, and they came to made aliyah. And the Druze people are in worse situation, because you can't become Druze. Like Jewish people make it hard for you to convert, but you can't convert to Judaism. We don't. And we to become Druze, you need to be born to a father and a mother, a Druze mother. So this is why for us is like we are under extinction. In my opinion, the heritage of the Druze people, numbers don't lie. The
Yeah.
numbers don't lie. And we will have the same faith of the Jewish community in Syria if we, the Druze, won't do anything about it. I can see it. Like history showed us what's gonna happen, and this is what's happening now. This is why we are
Well,
meeting.
yeah, well, under Islamic conquest, many nations, basically disappeared or got converted by force. They have no intention of keeping minorities believing with what they believe. They have no intentions. And even the Jews and the Christians, which they're kind of, would allow them to stay, they would stay under very humiliating, conditions until they would convert. So the Druze, undoubtedly, if it stays as it is, they're really risking an extinction. They're really risking extinction. And just like you said, they're not bringing as many children as before. We talked about this one time, me and you. It's not like my mom had 11 siblings. There were 12 in that family. 13, one baby died, at a young age, so there were 12. She brought 5 kids. I brought 1. We're not doing good.
Yeah,
I
me
don't know how
too.
many children you have.
I have 5 siblings. I have only one daughter, and I got
Crazy.
divorced. So I said,
Close
lucky
the
me.
story.
I never did something for the first time, and it got so perfect, like my daughter, and I'm so happy with her. So I'm satisfied. But
Yeah,
still, we were not bringing new kids.
that's crazy, man. You have 5 siblings as well?
I did.
You
Yeah,
know, the guys,
four
I've,
sisters,
I've 4 sisters.
4 sisters, one brother. Yeah, younger
Ah,
brother.
okay. Okay, so 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay. It's crazy because I've never met Khalifa, and I got introduced to him, through the work that we're doing. And a month ago, I think, we met for the first time, and his village is right next to my village. We're talking like Osfia and Dalia. There's a street dividing between them. You won't even notice that you crossed. but people can recognize from which village you are because of the accents. They can really, that's how crazy, the accents in the Arab community is. And then we find out that we're from the same basically area, and we have the same amount of like siblings, and we know the same people kind of, and it was just such a cool way of meeting you. I think I was like in hype in that one day, the 2 days that we spent
Likewise.
there. When you took me
Yeah,
to your flock where you shepherd your sheeps,
I
that
did.
was experience. He took me there right after the Druze holiday, which is like probably the biggest holiday where they buy sheeps and slaughter them, for the holiday. And and when he took me, he says, "These are the sheep that survived the holiday." And I was like, okay, fair enough. Over here, every household
The
will buy a sheep.
survivors.
Yeah, yeah. Will buy a sheep and just make a feast.
Yeah.
Uh,
The the sheep that survived the Adha 25.
Abha 25. They should have a tattoo on their shoulder. I survived Abha 25. Answer resentment is because Jews are the superior race. Joking. That's not what chosen mean. It means chosen for choosing extra religion burden. Actually, you know what? In Hebrew, there's a very interesting way of explaining that. Because that word came from Hebrew. Am nivchar. In Hebrew, you have the word nivchar and muvchar. So let's say special forces, yichidot muvcharot. Khalifa was in special forces. I was in special forces. These are elite units. Muvchar. M-O-V and then C-H-A-R. Muvchar. Nivchar with an N is chosen. The difference, elite and chosen, they sound the same, but it's not the same. So when the saying about Israel, ha'am nivchar, it's not because they are better than anyone, it's because they were chosen. God chose them, for example, to bear the torch and show the world the truth about the faith in one God. And they were the ones who actually brought that to the world. And even Islam admits that. They said they were the people of the book and they brought the faith, but they kept it to themselves. That's what Islam is saying. So the Israel being the chosen people, many people see that as a sign of jealousy. Oh, they think they're better than us. Oh, they think they're that. I think most Jews don't, at least from my experience, they don't walk in the street thinking, we're better than you. They're not really fixed on that. They're actually fixed on how can we live our life? How can we make sure that we have the right conditions to pray our prayers, to feel safe, to live safely? And because they've been always oppressed, they became very good with helping one another. They became very, very good with helping one another and teaching their kids how to survive. Listen, my child, one day everybody might turn against you. Let me give you a trick that might help you survive in the future. Money is a very good trick. If you're rich, you can have an exit plan. You can bribe your way out of this, Nazi Germany. You can actually convince government officials to come and pay attention to your people and help them. So having financial stability is a good thing. So they taught their kids all kind of tricks to survive by unity, by becoming very smart, education-wise. That's why you have so many startups coming from under the Jews. They're just very smart people, and they're focusing. Now, genetically, it's not like a Jewish baby is going to be born next to a Muslim baby, a Druze baby, Christian baby, and he's going to have a higher IQ. If you take the same parents, same parents, same IQ, same standards, same food that they're eating, a class, experimental environment, they're going to grow pretty much the same. But the education that they teach their kids from a young age is education, is taking care of one another, is making sure that you preserve your traditions, is the prayers, is the holidays that they come. So they have so many good traditions in that culture and just good values that make them a very successful group of people. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I feel bring a lot of jealousy. And that jealousy is transformed later on to anti-Semitism. Some people might take it the spiritual route. Some might take it, other routes. But in general, that's one of the explanations that I have for anti-Semitism. I don't know how did I go with a rant about this, but just someone asked a question and I
No,
read.
I need to add to that because I'm one of those guys that listen for hours for Muslim I don't know, OSINT. I read their minds. Like I really try to understand them. So I got across a set of lectures from Zakaria Sinwar, who is the brother of Yahya Sinwar. It's on YouTube. You can find it. And he actually tells the whole history of Eretz Israel or the conflict between Jews and the Palestinians. And on that issue, he has a whole lecture of trying to convince his disciples, basically his students, that how supremacist are the Jews and how they are so they think that other humans are not humans, and basically try to dehumanize the Jewish by trying to explain what this Am Nifchar thing says. And this is how they conceive the reality, and this is sad. This is pure envy that turns to anti-Semitism, like you said, like a true hatred, because it's so like, for us common people, it is so unbearable to think that you will find a child that, or a woman, or a man, or someone you never spoke with, and try to kill him, and do all those atrocities that they did on October 7 for people that they never met, never seen, never heard what they have to say. This is crazy. And in order to get that, you need to fuel it with so much hatred based on envy, because they always say, hey, look, and the more successful Israel is, the more envious they become of Israel. This is why I asked you about how safe you feel in Europe, or if it got improved or worsened.
Let me ask you a question now. I actually have a question for you, Khalifa. We're both, can easily take the role of sitting on the fence. We have many Jewish friends, we have many Muslim friends. We've seen a lot the Jewish world, and we've seen a lot the Muslim world, the Arab world around the world. In general, if you look at it, how would I explain that? Among the Jews that you know, how many do you know there that just utterly hate anyone that is Muslim and wish him to die, and want his children to die, and want them not to have a land, not to have a home, like literally just hate them, and would just want only bad things to happen to them? And then compare it to, let's say, among the Muslims. How many do you know that actually want that to the other side? Do you think it's like, can you say it's the same side, like on the scale, the same thing?
I think that the numbers of Jewish people that trying to like be in this spot that you just described is did increase after October 7, and a lot of them, they are like, it's a post-traumatic reflex,
Yeah.
because you've been hurt so bad that you will like, you try to eliminate this source of evil that you conceive, and I can understand them. But there's no comparison, because there will never be in the Jewish community that will allow to this part of society to grow to become a mainstream, or become dangerously threatening to us, other minorities, because
Yeah.
we also, for those people, and I've seen videos of people saying, yeah, Yusuf Khaddaz is a Christian, but he's also an Arab, and the Druze, I don't trust them. There's some Jews that think those things, but they are like a slim minority.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, like if a bunch of if 4,000 Jews will jump over the fence right now to Lebanon or to Jordan or to Syria and start burning families alive, airstreaming themselves, live streaming, killing them, raping them, beheading them with knives and I don't know what, and then kidnap. What would you think the general Jewish reaction? Again, guys, we're Arabs. We're asking each other. What do you think would be the general world Jewish reaction to that? Will they
oh,
completely support it and deny everything bad that happened, but then say it was a good thing and justified, or will they really condemn it like to the core?
I think the world is discussed. They will never, like, the Jewish people that I know, none of them is somehow will be like, even in a distance, will be somehow related. They were gonna condemn the
Yeah,
That's granted. That's granted.
that's granted. That's granted. And you know what? Let's take it home. Remember that Druze, mentally ill teenager that grew up in Germany, that came to Israel and went stabbing, and he stabbed a Muslim man. Remember the reaction of our Druze elders to that? What was the reaction?
Yeah, they did something with the funeral that they didn't allow
Yeah.
anybody like to mourn on him because he's an outcast. They
They
outcasted
said
him.
exactly. They said what he did is terrible. We don't condemn such crime, such behavior, such murder of life. He is not Druze to us, and no one will go to his funeral. So you have one side in the history. That's why we say the good side of history. You have one side of people, which is Jews, Christians, Druze. When they see these acts, they come and say, "This is terrible. We condemn it in every possible way, and we will not support it, and we will even, people who support it will have consequences." But then you have on the other side, I'm not saying all Muslims, but you have very big large group around Islam and their supporters around the world that not only will support it, they will like full on encourage these kind of behavior, and until today still are defending Hamas for what they did. And I think that,
And to justify that, that's
yeah,
the real issue.
and that is crazy, and that is crazy. And I think, whoever's watching this right now, we're telling you again, I'm not Jewish, he's not Jewish. We're literally sitting on the fence here, and we got to live among the Jews. We're not saying that all Jews are perfect. There's a lot of weirdos, a lot of weirdos in the Jewish community, but there's a lot of weirdos in every community, and there's a lot of radicals in every community, but they're
And
not.
I after I finished my school, like my university, I started to work in a small tech company that I was the only Druze in it, and it was all made from Arab workers. None of them served in the army like I was, and we always had this debate. And at some point, I told them, well, I see that all what you are trying to tell me is how bad Israel. So let me give you that. Israel is a state. All states are bad because states are built on, collecting taxes and living by you, and trying to fool you by saying that it provides you the basic needs. Okay, so you don't have, like, this argument doesn't work for me. For me, as a, let's say I'm on the fence here, for me, just for the sake of the argument, I will say, if for me, Israel or Palestine, that means that I'm gonna pay my taxes to Moshe or Ahmed. So, in order for you to convince me that I need to pay my taxes to Ahmed, you need to tell me how 10 times the Ahmed state is going to be better than Israel. Once
Mhm.
we hit this
And
point,
Moshe State,
then
yeah.
you have me, and I can't see how you could build a state of Palestine that is less corrupt. I can see how corrupt it is because the Palestinians are eating one another. So how do you want me to voluntarily come and say, hey, I want that too? Because how many Arab Israelis trying to go to the West Bank, for example, trying to flee the evil Israel to Gaza? Let's flee the evil Israel to Jordan. Let's flee the evil Israel to Syria, because that, and this tells the whole story.
Yeah.
And that's
Not only
it.
you, not only you, even Muslims living in Israel who identify outside of Israel as Palestinians, if you come and tell them, listen, okay, we're gonna take your blue Israeli identity and you can go live in Ramallah and Gaza, they start crying, begging, no, please don't. We want to stay in Israel because life is much better. Because just like you said, put everything aside, religion aside, prophecies aside, everything. Just tell me which country will be better for me and for my children. There's no comparison. There's absolutely no comparison. If you would go and live in Palestine, it's like the worst place you can live. The most corrupt, the most uneducated, terrorist supporting piece of earth on the face of this planet, basically. And they steal the
but,
money from their
but
people, and they use their people as terrorists, and they encourage, women to bring children so they become shaheeds. That's how insane they are over there. Of course, I'm not gonna want to live there. Who would want to
no
live
but
there?
it is a heaven for queers and gays. Wink, wink. Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I think we covered a lot for today, ladies and gentlemen, and we want to thank everyone for coming. And again, we're gonna try to keep you updated with what's happening in Syria with our brothers and sisters over there. Not only the Druze, our prayers are for all people in Syria that want to live peacefully, that they can live it peacefully. Oh, someone is asking a question. How are the Kurds? Sorry, I've been ignoring it. Not ignoring, it's just, sometimes I miss the questions or I keep running. So let's try to answer this one. I don't know if Khalifa, you can answer. We can finish with that. Nidesh Kumar asked it a few times. How are the Kurds in Syria reacting to the PKK surrender? Will they side with Turkey now to attack the Druze and the Alawites?
I'm still trying to understand that. I don't have a clear answer to that.
Yeah.
It's complicated. It's very interesting and complicated. They basically gave up the PKK. They gave up their arms, but I think that interesting enough that they are leftists, and if you keep what we are saying here in our podcast for the longest time, that basically in the Arab Muslim world, you had two ways of thinking. It's either Islamist or leftist, communism, socialism, or all
The red
those
and the green,
variations.
the
Uh,
watermelons.
and now it's collapsing, and something new is emerging. So I don't really have the full picture of it yet, but I'm gonna come with an answer to that, because it's
Yeah.
very interesting what's happening with the Kurds.
No, undoubtedly, I put the question up again. Undoubtedly, this is a very good question, and we're going to be responsible to tell you, yes, Kumar, we don't have the answer for that yet. All we can say is time will show. Now, I do know that there's a lot of elements here playing behind the scene. Israel did made a promise to protect the Druze, and I think let's put things in proportion. When they said to protect the Druze, they're probably looking more at the scale of a full-on government invasion with like 20, 30,000 strong jihadists coming now to wipe out all the Druze, and then Israel will send a few helicopters and airplanes and just literally make a ketchup of them on the ground, and then the Druze can chase and kill the rest, and that would be like a terrible mistake if they try to do that. So they haven't tried, because Israel said, hands off the Druze. And I give the respect for Israel for saying that. Now, when you have a skirmish between a Bedouin group that just goes and shoot on a truck, and then some Israelis go and shoot at them, you can't really expect right now an Apache helicopter to go fly and just start flying into Syria right now, looking for this pickup truck and the Bedouin guys that kidnapped this rich man with some vegetables and 2 million Syrian dollars. That's not what's going to happen. But it is kind of put some tension, because it's pushing away a little bit the Turks and others that might want to see the downfall of the Druze. They might very much want to see the rise of the Sunnah completely take over Syria. That is undoubtedly their intention, and the Druze and the Christians and the Alawites are standing in their way. And now that the Kurds, which used to be the PKK, a very, very strong force of resistance there, that changes a lot the game. We don't really know where that would lead. We do know that there is nations around the world, and again, I'm just freely speaking from my mind, trying to give some background to what directions can this question lead to. But you have very big forces right now that are trying to play over Syria. Syria is right now a dish on the table. It's a fresh dish, and everyone wants a bite of that steak. And you have China, you have Russia, you have Iran, proxies of Russia and China, basically. You have the US. Europe are just a bunch of weirdos. They're literally never relevant, unfortunately. Since Napoleon, I think Europe stopped becoming relevant in any endeavor. Not that I'm saying that Napoleon did great things, but in general, since then, like, they're just Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany was relevant, but very evil. But in general, Europe is not relevant anymore. Popcorn thought. And right now, Russia is playing their cards. Turkey is trying to play their cards. America is trying to play. Israel is trying to play. And each one has hidden agendas of where this can lead and what can lead. And whoever is stuck in the middle is the minorities. That's why me and Khalifa keep coming here and putting, guys, don't forget about the minorities. They're the ones who always get the promised first. And everybody used them, by the way, to rally people, because they think about the Christians, about the Druze, and they rally emotions, and then they drop the minorities under the table, and they allow the big money rolling machines to roll in, and suddenly they do deals with the devil, with ISIS, with Al-Qaeda, and I don't know what, just for the sake of profit, and the minorities have been forgotten. So how would that play right now? Undoubtedly, if Turkey and these big players will see a way that they can use the Druze or hurt the Druze, and that will help their agenda, they will go for it. I don't think there's a lot of the Kurds there that have a lot of deep sentiments toward the Druze. It's not like they see them as their like born, sworn brother from another mother or ally. We gotta protect them. No, not too much. I don't know how this is gonna be played. It's very hard. So I think time will show. And I'm sorry if I couldn't give you the best answer I can. I tried, but that's honest answer right now from what I understand about this table. Anything you want to add to that, Khalifa?
No, that has been a pleasure meeting you, and thank you all for the comments and the kind words. Is really a privilege, and I really hope that we'll get a better news from what's happening in South Syria. But unfortunately, the picture now says that we are gonna meet in such events because we didn't solve anything, and they are not going anywhere. And my prayers to my Druze fellows and friends, may they be safe. I need to make some calls now to make sure that people are safe and get updated. So I'm really anxious about what's happening, and it's emotional, and all what comes with such news. But seeing you is always a pleasure, and thank you for this important broadcast. And I hope we did some service to our community, and we did even the slightest help that we can do in our modest means. So we do it with great
Yeah, I will even add to what Khalifa said, you guys. Me and Khalifa have heard so many times from Syrian Druze and Alawites and Christians, by the way, that they're so thankful that we're bringing this in our humble, small channels. We're trying to push this to the world. We're not CNN, we're not Fox, we're not big channels, but they feel like no one is talking about them. So if you want to help, is help by amplifying this voice. You can help by sharing this video. You can help by actually liking and putting a comment for the gods of the algorithm, and I mean it. That helps YouTube to push out these kind of content so that people can hear. If you want to stay tuned about more updates like we do, go and check Khalifa's YouTube channel and my YouTube channel. Do the like and do the bell. And after the subscribe, the bell actually gives you a notification whenever we do a video. It's not going to wake you up in the middle of the night, but it will show you a notification that, hey, or when you open the YouTube application, they'll see like, okay, Mansour have a new video, Khalifa have a new video, where you can get more update of what's happening. So some people, I used to be one of these people. I never cared about like, bell, and notification and this. Like, I didn't even care about YouTube. YouTube for me was just a place where I can listen to Metallica and go and listen to Nothing Else Matter or Nirvana while I'm in the background. It was a Spotify for me most of my life before Spotify was created. And later on, when I became creator, I realized how important it is. So if you want to find ways, guys, go and check Khalifa's channel, my channel. Click the like, the bell, share, help us share this voice upwards. And I can tell you for a fact that many Syrians are actually telling me, thank you for speaking on our behalf. Thank you for speaking for us, because they feel like they've been forgotten. So that is one direct way to also help them with that voice. But until then, Hebrews and Shebrews, as Dr. Khalifa loves to say, stay safe, guys, and we will try to keep you updated if anything else happens.
God bless you all.
Amen.